One, I'm very, very happy to be here and introduce my ultimate. I was thinking, how do I call you? Because I was like, you're definitely my boss girl crush. Maybe that sounds weird, but like, I really think so. So, Jalinka Michaux, is that okay? Is that right?
Perfect.
Perfect. So, senior communications manager at FIBA, right? Ex-basketball player, and yeah, Swiss national team member, right?
Quite a long time ago now, but
I
yes.
mean, I think that's a big title. It's a big title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an achievement. We can say that. I think, yeah,
Oh, for sure.
retrospectively, you can say it's an achievement. Yeah.
Passion for basketball here is obviously the most important thing connecting me, you, and this podcast, right? And I'm very happy, and I feel lucky that I met you because I saw your work, and I honestly, I've admired your diligence, your work ethic, and how you can actually have that friendship and fun times at the same time as you're being very professional, which I think it's incredible for me. Like it was very interesting to witness. So yeah, prompts to you. Like I'm like fangirling right now. No, but so talk to me. How did you get from the basketball court to the court side at FIBA events?
Where to start? No, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I follow you, and I'm really happy to be part of it. And yeah, I think you're right. Passion, it's important. It what drives us. And I think in particular for my transition from the court to professional life, in a very, let's say, difficult environment because it's mainly, male dominant and very competitive, even outside the court. It was really important to have this factor in because passion is really what makes you go the extra mile, right? And what makes you do a little bit of, the extra hours and putting in the additional effort to get that. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist in a lot of things. I think by now, and yeah, I think that clearly helped and kind of pushed me in the right direction. And then, I mean, I have to be honest, getting into the position I am now, it was not easy. It was a lot of waiting and a lot of patience because it's not a super welcoming environment for certain people. You have to prove yourself a lot. But yeah, I think I always have the element of fun with the passion that kind of makes me go through difficult situations with a little bit of a smile, maybe. And I think that's what probably helps in, this work, but in a nice environment with cool people. I think it's important. You pass, like, you spend so much time away from home at events. If you don't have a good time with the people around you and you're just like always in a bad mood or like thinking too much, you kind of ruin your experience, and that's not the purpose for me. So yeah, I'm going a little bit in every direction, but I think you asked the
No,
right
no,
question.
don't
And
worry.
I mean, I really got to FIBA a little bit randomly after, not even after, but during my basketball career because I was still playing when I started working there. But the truth is that in Switzerland, with women's basketball player salary, I wasn't living a glamorous lifestyle. So I did need a little bit of extra after I finished university and my master's degree. So I kind of just send out these random CVs, like to all these big organizations. And in Switzerland we have let's say the luck of having all these international federations and UEFA, FIFA, etc., around the corner. So
So
I
all were
randomly,
sports.
yeah,
Direction was sports. Yeah.
yeah. Even though at the beginning it wasn't really gonna be my direction, I decided to try. and I had already a little experience at UEFA, so that clearly helped. But when I sent my CV to FIBA and then they got back to me, I was like, oh my God, this is actually quite cool. So I went for one interview, and it ended up being the current director of communications is actually also an ex-basketball player from the Swiss national team. So there was a connection there. And, all the other colleagues were really in kind of like curious of the idea that they could finally have a woman in the team too, I think, because it wasn't the case back then.
Wow.
And somebody that actually knew basketball and was passionate about it. So, we just hit it off. And from that moment, I had this interview. I started working as an intern, actually. And after a couple of months, they just said, don't you just want to stay for a real job? And I haven't left since. And it's been, it's going to be 11 years. So, yeah. Wow. I've seen some things.
Well, we'll get to that, hopefully. I wanted to ask you, because there was, when I sent out my Instagram to ask questions, because I get asked a lot by, young Lithuanian girls mostly, how did you get into basketball and all this? So then when I said that you're going to be on, there were some questions about, like, what did you study? Although now I feel like I don't think that it really matters, but I think that when you're young, you feel like this is the only thing that matters,
Yeah, and it's actually really funny because I feel that when you're young and you wanna be successful, you put a lot of pressure on yourself for certain decisions that, when you get to the moment where it counts, those are really not the things that matter, or not that much, not as much as we think at the beginning. And it was absolutely the case for me. I think that I studied because, first of all, I'm a little bit of a geek. I really like it. I love reading. I loved my studies. Like, I studied political science, and then that was my bachelor, and then I have a master in public management and administration, which sounds really boring, but my objective my objective when I moved to management and public administration was really to do something that would apply to a lot of different things, that was general enough to then have the freedom to, decide where I wanted to work. And it's funny because when I was studying, I wanted to work in a completely different environment. I wanted to work in the management of prisons and, do all kind of different things. So sport was not exactly on the radar for me. But I think getting closer to the end of my career, I was like, okay, I think I'm really going to suffer if I don't keep basketball in my life some way, somehow. And I don't think I'm patient enough to coach. I don't think, that's not my thing. So I was really looking into something more in the management side of teams. It could have been a club, honestly. It could have been a national federation, but I just kind of entered the top of the pyramid right away. So that was, I'm still to this day, I feel very grateful that was my path. So.
And so did you start right away into the communications, or did you enter some different area within FIBA and then moved around sort of to find yourself?
No, I got directly into communications, even though, again, it wasn't really my field of expertise at all. But I had the chance of coming in. I guess I was the right person at the right moment. I came in when one person was leaving that was doing media activities, media operations, and really covering that area. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a very structured, functional area at FIBA. It was just like something that somebody picked up, and then they were doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and advancing in the communications department, like reassigning roles, etc. It just seemed, it just made sense that I picked up that side of things because of my management background. And then also because I really was willing to learn a lot. And the thing about media operations and media services is that there isn't really a training for that. There isn't a university. You don't go and study media operations. It's really something where you need to go on the field, experience, do as many events as you can to get the gist of things and how, be exposed to a lot of different situations, to know what to expect or to try and anticipate as much as possible, which is always difficult. But I think I was just the right person there to do that because I was really a sponge. Like I was really trying to absorb everything and find my place somehow. And back then, I mean, when I started, I wasn't really, it wasn't really the department that we have today. So I was doing also a little bit of everything. I remember I was posting on Facebook back then. I was managing the Facebook channel. I was doing all kind of like reporting, activity reports, corporate stuff. Whereas now we really have a specific person doing each little thing.
But it's
So
crazy how like the communications department actually can like split into the social medias now as
yeah,
well, and all that, more and more people. Because
yeah,
back
yeah,
in Jalinka, I did the same thing. I was doing half marketing, half communications, but within communications is like the website, the Instagram, then Facebook, and all these things. Now it's like, oh my! And
exactly.
then I did the YouTube as well, like as a the person behind the camera too. So there's so many things, and now it's just like every little branch has like 5 people within.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a good thing because it allowed me to see how certain things were working and also see if I actually like doing it. A lot of people don't have the opportunity of saying, "Oh, I'm gonna try this," and then if I don't like it, move to something else. But
That's true.
I kind of tried to take the best of that and worked out pretty fine. So
That's true. That's pretty cool. I guess yeah, a lot of things have changed over even just the last decade, which sounds a decade sounds so much, but it's not really. I
we
mean,
can
that just
start.
tells
We can start in
about our age. um, so okay, so another question one of the girls asked was, what are the personal skills that you think that matter in the basketball industry in
um,
particular?
yeah, and I think that's actually what I was saying before about when you get to like an interview when you have to sell yourself, let's say, and kind of like um, you're not going to use your studies, what you studies, what your background really is in that sense to sell yourself. People would have already checked your CV and know pretty much what your path was. But the personality, the skills that you have, like what you kind of, um, what comes from you, that's the part that counts. And I think that especially for girls, young women, it's confidence. I feel that it's very underrated. Like you don't go to school and they teach you there's no class for confidence, right?
That's sad, right? Because
Yeah,
it somewhat it should be like it would
yeah.
help a lot of places in life. Like
There should be a class that helps you develop certain skills in life, confidence being one of them. But
yeah,
clearly, I think that's a very important point for women. And I think honestly, looking back, like at my experience at the beginning, I did not have the confidence I have today to speak up, to voice my concerns, to say certain things, to not criticize, but constructive criticism, like
yeah.
saying if something feels wrong. And I think that's a very it can be an annoying skill if you end up in the wrong environment, but I think it's in the end it's always valued, and if you come in with the right confidence, it can change a lot of things. And I
I
think
think
that's
what we have a lot of yes man people,
yes,
and I feel like it's so important in any organization or with any business. If I was a business owner, I would not want all of the people to be yes man. Like I mean, I need opinions. I need people thinking on the same wavelength, and also within events. I'm sure, like when I've seen you work, and well, I was your colleague for a little. It's like it's important because if you, it's not that you're criticizing other people. It's just like, okay, can we make this whole thing better together,
Mhm.
sort of.
Yeah. And
And
it's not a question of being overconfident. Like it's that's actually the extreme. I think that's and that's the difficulty when you're young, is that you don't really know. You're not an expert in anything, so it's hard to show confidence on certain things. But especially when you go, for example, to interviews, or when you're at the beginning of your career, you're the only person that really know yourself. So you know what you can, you know what your real skills are, you know what your strengths are, what your weak points are, where you should, and there's no, it's not bad to tell people what your weaknesses are, because it actually shows a certain, humbleness, and shows that you actually want to get better and advance. So I would say confidence number one. And then you need to have a strong background in whatever you try to get in. I think that a lot of times, I mean, when you speak basketball, it's an international language. Like, it doesn't matter where you're from the moment you understand how a play works, from the moment you can talk about, okay, like, you see how that guy sets the screen, oh, it's bad, like, go under, go over, defensive stuff. Like, from the moment you can prove that you actually understand what's going on a basketball court, I think in my field it helped me gain some credibility and, some legitimacy in terms of sharing my opinion, and making certain choices that, I think that I grew space around me to take certain decisions, and it came because I showed that I had a certain basketball IQ, and that I wasn't talking because I was there. I was talking because I'm actually passionate, and I know what I'm doing, and I know what I'm talking about. So, and I think this is valid in anything. Like, just absorb whatever there is to absorb, read, talk to other people. I think in particular in the world of sports, because you are exposed to so many people from different places. I mean, it was my case playing with, foreign players from all over the world, and people that are from different corners of the world. I think that's very interesting to collect as much knowledge and different opinions and feedback that you can, because it's really enriching, and it's something that takes you out of your own world. Like, and I come from Switzerland. It's very small, so, like, you know if people have all the same opinion and you don't look outside, you'll never know what's out there, and that's, you can think certain things in a different way. Or so, yeah, I think that's very, very important too.
so now when you said that it gave you legitimacy when you were talking about basketball, did you, and then you said before previously that you were obviously one of the very few women, or maybe one woman in the beginning to start with, when you just started. So did it give you, like, when you started talking basketball, did they take you seriously right away? Because
It depends who. Like, I think that's actually interesting. It depends who. Certain people were very protective. I think in particular in my department, the people that brought me in, because they saw the potential, they were very protective, and they knew that I could do certain things. So they were patient with me. They gave me room to develop and grow. But there was always a group of people, or at least yeah, a certain, because there is also, like, levels, and a structure that doesn't allow you to say,
like hierarchy, sort of.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that higher up it was hard to be taken seriously, because you don't have a direct channel of communication with these people. And when you have to, when you're brought to talk to them, you're nervous and you feel that, oh my God, like, who are, like, you don't see them as people anymore. They're like some higher some higher entity, and you completely forget that you can do certain things. Like, I remember this one time, I was talking, they told me, oh, you can come and present this at the Players Commission. And I was inside, I was super excited and I wanted to take the opportunity. But then, you know, I started Googling the members of the commission and I started overthinking, like, oh my God, these guys have real careers. Like, who am I to go talk to them about how players should respond to this and to that, and about all my projects? Like, they're just going to think I'm crazy. And, you know, when you start getting into that bubble of overthinking, you're like, oh my God, like, what? I can't do this. So obviously there were moments like that. And it's funny because you lose all your confidence in that case, and you think that my biggest problem was, like, I had like a little bit of an imposter syndrome. I was like, oh my God, like, they're just gonna see that I'm not supposed to be here. And really and truly, like, when you get to those points and you put all the effort, because I really come prepared when I do this type of stuff, you realize actually people are listening, and people are, you know, they are actually taking what I'm saying seriously, and because it's logical stuff, they see it too. Obviously, you always have resistance and you always have people that try to break your ideas, but overall, in general, if you expose your ideas in a coherent way, if you try to, you know, be logical, explain the big picture, etc., that's where people get you. And then you kind of tell yourself, oh no, I did have the skills or the legitimacy to do this. But yeah, it's not always easy. Sometimes you have to, like, you know, I go into meetings and I sweat and I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know how this is gonna go, but you do it anyways.
Yeah, I'm sure it's getting like easier and easier within years and experience, like with anything. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of time.
Yeah, it is a matter of time. You really need to practice. Practice makes
I
perfect.
feel like that imposter syndrome is, I don't want to say it's only a woman thing, but it's also a lot of women things. Like, you know, so I feel that too sometimes, and
Hmm.
I'm sure, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of women who become like successful in the area, and like you, like taken into going into the rooms where, like, you know, men make big decisions, and then you feel like, oh my God, do I belong here? But
Yeah.
yeah,
But I think
it's
it's
crazy how we do it to ourselves, you know, like, because
yeah,
you
but
do belong there. Like, you
you
know,
do.
you made
Absolutely.
you made your way up there, so like you do belong there.
Hmm. Absolutely. But I think it's a combination of a lot of things, you know, like, we have way less representation in front ahead of us. Like, when sometimes I try to think of, okay, who can I look up to that is actually an example for me? And I'm thinking, okay, in 10, 20, 30 years from now, I would love to be her, or I would love to be in her position. I think that men have way more that to look up to, and to, you know, imagine themselves in that position, in that chair. We have it way less. And I think that kind of puts you in a position where you ask yourself more questions. And women in general, no offense to men, but I think that women in general ask themselves way more questions.
No, men would enter the room and be like, "Oh, what's up?" to the senior managers, right? And women are like, "Oh my
Dude, how
God,
was it?
oh."
Like, yeah. Did you watch the game yesterday? Like, yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think women ask themselves way more questions, and then this lack of representation is just kind of affecting what you can aim at, you know, achieving yourself, because it's way harder. Like, you don't, like, have you ever thought about being, I don't know what, like an astronaut, if you've never seen a person that looks like you being an astronaut? Not really. So, and it's the same in positions that are less glamorous or interesting, even if it's just a management position or if it's, I don't know, an admin position, it's the same thing. And especially in positions of power, I think it's very hard to voice it. But even now, I mean, sometimes people ask me like, oh, what would you like, where do you see yourself at FIBA in X years? And depending on who it is,
I was just thinking to ask you this.
Yeah, depending on who it is, I'm not comfortable saying, oh, I want to be a, director of this or secretary general or blah, 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 like, because I don't think we're pushed to do that enough. Maybe younger generations now. I think when I talk to 15 years old now, 16 years old girls, they're much more like feisty in that sense. Like, oh, what do you mean I can't be that or I can't do that? Like, there's more
It's awesome.
of that.
I'm
I
proud.
love
I'm
it.
proud to hear that. But you know what? You'll laugh. When I was 21, I was in uni in London, and I made the presentation. We were supposed to do a presentation about our dream, like a job,
Mm-hmm.
a position at work. And so mine was this. I wrote, I want to be a CEO of EuroLeague basketball.
Listen.
And I did the whole presentation about it, but like, okay, it was very well done from our professor. Like, he really encouraged us, like, look, this is, dream big, and what is it? And I always secretly dreamt of that. So I was like, okay, this is an easy thing for me, I'm just like, okay.
But see, like, more girls should be encouraged to do that. It's a very good exercise, and I think that that it helps you. It helps, like,
But telling you this, then when I entered the workforce, as to say, and I started working in sports industry, I never said it, not never maybe, but like I said it such few times, and now barely ever again. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, okay, like, getting realistic now.
I understand why, but see, at the same time, why not?
Yeah. Talking about those big rooms and big meetings and stressful situations at those, have you had any, like, sort of failures that you could call that you learned from, or something that was just an embarrassing situation? Something fun. Not at the time, bro.
I'm trying to think, like, complete failure. I don't think so. Like, something that completely ended up in.
But like you said, with your preparation and everything, you can't have a complete failure. But
I think I just had, like, barriers and obstacles and big walls for certain things, for certain projects in particular, or for certain ideas. But it was tough on the moment. But I think that I think the biggest almost failures, let's say, that there were, it was just not the right moment for certain discussions. And I have to say, I'm not a very patient person. I want things to move quick. I want things to move, period, all the time. Like, I'm not static. I don't like that. I don't like stagnation.
yeah.
I don't like when there is no change in view, in the sense that I think that, for example, at FIBA, in our organization, I know there are a lot of things that can still improve and change, which is why I'm still there. But things are not moving always very fast, because there is a political structure, because there are decisions, the decision-making process is relatively slow. There are a lot of people involved. So sometimes, before you actually get to a result, it takes a lot of time, and that's frustrating. But I think that was the biggest problem, is that I wasn't patient enough to wait to have certain conversations, and kind of choose my moment a little bit better, because I knew I was gonna go against the wall, but because I'm a little bit stubborn and not patient, I went into the wall anyways. And here too is just a situation where you learn. And when you're passionate about something, it's true that it becomes even more important, and you can just drop it. You just want to have that tough discussion. You just want to, you just want to bring up that topic that's can potentially annoy people. I don't know, it can be gender equality, it can be a lot of things. But yeah, I think it's never really, I can't say that I really failed in these discussions. I think that
Hmm.
even when they were tough, and when I felt that right at that moment I was going against the wall, there was always after some sort of reaction or some sort of coming back and picking up on certain things that came out of that discussion, that were positive, actually, that kind of showed me that, okay, so we had that discussion. It didn't go exactly how I expected it to go. It didn't move as fast as I wanted. But out of the 12 points that I shared, two actually made
Stuck.
it through. Yeah, stuck to their minds, and they kind of, they kind of developed something on it. So yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying I don't think it's a complete failure. It's just like getting certain messages through, and I guess it's about
Yep.
your strategy, how you talk to people.
My next question was like, what are you bad at? But I feel like you already answered. There's not such thing like you have to be bad at, but like the patience thing, right? And then like, but I feel like I'm very similar because when you're passionate, it's a different ball game because you're just on it here and then, and let's do this,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, what I'm bad at, it's, I think that what I said about patience, that's definitely something that I'm still working on. I'm getting much better. And it's important because it's your problem not being patient. It's not other people's problem, and sometimes you feel like you impose it on other people.
Yeah,
So working on that.
that's a
um
great way to look at it. I need to work on that a bit harder, I think.
but it's not easy, we all have our own expectations, and sometimes I feel that that's what it is as well. Like, patience is just like, you set these expectations for yourself, and you can do certain things, but people are not like you. So if you set the same expectations for other people, you're going to be disappointed at one point because they're not going to go as fast as, you know so yeah, I think it goes together. And sometimes you just need to chill, take a chill pill, relax, and say, like, okay, let me just wait a little bit more, and not lose it. But
Yeah,
yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it's horrible. Like, I need to think so much about what I'm bad at, but
but it's
um,
a good thing. Like it's the sort of a trick question. I'm not trying to like pull out all the secret bad things that you think you do or anything. It's just
my
like
handwriting really bad. It got really bad. My
I
handwriting.
think we're spoiled now with all the phones and everything. I feel like when I take the pen, I'm like, what? How do I use it?
We were doing some department cleaning the other day, and I found some notes from when I just started, like 10 years ago, 10, something like that. And my notes were impeccable, perfect, written so nicely. And then I look at my notes from now, and it's like a doctor prescription. It's horrible. Even myself, sometimes I don't understand what I write down. So yeah, definitely handwriting, terrible.
Oh, okay. So, Jal, tell me what is most exciting and like rewarding part of your job?
Um, I think it's when I see other people happy for my success, or for the success of our events. I think that I obviously, because we do so much, there is so much going on. It's so, like, the year is so long with so many things happening, and it goes so fast. Sometimes I personally tend to forget quickly, and to kind of move fast from one event to the other without really think about the impact it has on people. It can be people around me, it can be my family. Like, when my family sometimes tells me, like, oh, it's amazing, like, it looks so great, or it makes you feel so good because you're like, I didn't even stop to look exactly at how this was. And it's very nice to have it coming from your mom, your partner, your friends. I mean, it's very fulfilling for me. And at the same time, also, I think because we have events in so many different places, well, recently the World Cup in the Philippines, Indonesia, Japan, I think just seeing locals, sharing with them, spending time with people, you know, seeing happy kids watching basketball, the excitement, like I just it was very very emotional. I think in particular, I mean, I spent a lot of time this summer in the Philippines. I was there for a month and a half, and the passion for basketball, the way they welcomed us, you know, the everything about it was just a magnificent experience, and it made me feel really 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 grateful, and it gave
Appreciated.
purpose. Kind of, you know, sometimes you lose purpose a little bit. You're like, oh, you complain about, I need to go to the office again. You know, I've been there for the entire week. I stayed there until 10 p.m. last night, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, that the time in the Philippines was really good to kind of give me that purpose again. And, you know, you see these kids playing with a ball, it's raining, they're barefoot, they don't care, they're happy. And then, you know, you give them a few tickets to come to the games, and it's just, it made their month, year, I don't know, but it's just like, it was really, I think that's the part I love the most.
That's amazing. Tell me more about the World Cup. How was it? I feel like, okay, so sorry, just going back a little bit to what you said. It's
Mhm.
like because I feel like when I was with you at Eurobasket, it's like, oh wait, I have a meeting. I'll come after the meeting because you have a meeting about another event already. So I feel like, yes, it's hard. It must be hard for you to be right there and then, because there's, first of all, so much going on, but also so much going on for the next thing. So it's, yeah, it's crazy. I could just imagine like your schedule, your project planning and everything must be like insane.
Yeah, I think you're right about being in the moment. That's actually what's missing sometimes, you know. I mean, random example, but at the World Cup now in the Philippines, we are already talking and having meetings at the same time during the final phase about Qatar in 2027. So you're like, you know, okay, like let's
That's
finish.
like mind blown right there,
Yeah,
like
so
that's like years away.
yeah, so you know, and in between, I mean, obviously this is just between men's World Cup and women's World Cup, but we had a press conference for the women's World Cup in 2026 at the same time. So I mean, the basketball never stops syndrome. We have it, like it's there, and you love it. I mean, if you love what you're doing, you
You
enjoy.
have to love it.
Oh
Like
yeah,
otherwise you probably couldn't
yeah.
go crazy.
Otherwise, you just, you know, you go and you do something where you know that you can go at home at 5 and then your phone is not gonna ring. You're gonna be okay. But this is not that.
Yeah. So tell me about what are the highlights of the World Cup? What are the calm stories?
So many, so many. We had really, really an amazing event. I have to say, I was it's horrible to say it like that, but I always say that I was a little bit traumatized after China 2019, because it was a very, very difficult event, to organize, to deliver. I have to say I didn't really enjoy it. It was really, really difficult. And then after that,
What why was that?
because it was I feel like, well, China was a very difficult environment to work in. First of all, because of the language barrier, it was really difficult to get, not just talking to people, but relate to people. Kind of, have that connection that you need to work together every day. So it was very tough. And also in terms of, we had a World Cup in 8 different venues in 8 different Chinese cities, which logistically just made it a nightmare. We did it, but this World Cup with half the amount of venues clearly helped us deliver a product that was much more high standard. So yeah, China was difficult. So as I said, a little bit traumatizing of an event. So I was very aware and focused on preparing and anticipating every possible problem aspect that could go wrong. And worried, honestly. I was just worried that, things could go just wrong, that that we were not gonna deliver something that was up to the level for an event in 2023. So there was a lot of worrying in the months before. I mean, I went back and forth to the Philippines, Japan, Indonesia, pretty much the entire year. But I think that when the event started, even the days before, I kind of started getting that this was going to be something different, bigger, just like more united. I think the three countries did a wonderful job making people feel at home, giving them a real experience, like from not just coming to a basketball game, sit down and then go home, but really just make them part of something. So that was clearly a big lesson, and it put me back in the right mood, right, to deliver an event like this. And then there were so many little things and big things. I mean, first of all, on the court, I think in particular for the final phase, the games were just amazing. It was extremely entertaining. It was like nuts, and that's always great. I mean, when you're just like by the court and you get to witness this great basketball, I mean, there's nothing better for me. And then, yeah, as I said before, the passion of people. I mean, the opening game of the Philippines with the full venue, the Philippine Arena, that was something I never ever witnessed in my life. I mean, I've seen full arenas, but that was something else.
That is incredible.
And that was just like kind of mind blowing. So yeah, stuff like this. Working with my colleagues too, I think we had a very good team. We kind of held each other's hands, to go through it together, and it was nice. I think everybody really showed up and tried to do their best. So, and it's difficult when you have, our staff for the World Cup was huge this time. So we're talking about we did a staff workshop in May with 150 people, and that was just the core. We didn't really have all the freelancers and everyone. It was just like the core. So you can imagine, I mean, when you have to coordinate all those people for one goal, it's tough. But yeah, I think it went really, really well. We did it. And
What did you stay in one event, one arena, or did you like during the event, or did you
I
travel?
was based in the Philippines because I was also overviewing what was happening in Indonesia and Japan. And then how we operate in the host countries. That in the Philippines we had a command center for the group phase, so a big control room with plenty of screens and where all the lead for all the functional areas are, so that we can control and kind of move depending on the potential problems we have or things to solve. So I was moving between the command center and one of the venues because I do like to be on the field. I don't like to be in the, control center the entire time. But yeah, I was moving between those two, and I stayed in the Philippines because I did all the setup of the other countries before the event. So yeah.
It sounds insane. Like the whole, oh, I just set up the World Cup in other countries and then I came and I was there. Yeah. I've never been in a situation where the whole center, like, how did you call that center?
The command center.
The command, yeah. How does it look? How does it all work there?
So it works like we used to laugh because the setup is a little bit like, in movies when like, when they show like how NASA works with all the screens, and they're all like, they're in this big hall and they're all facing the same screens in front, right? And you have it's a little bit of like a light version of that. So we feel very important. Everybody has a little headset and like, all kind of screens in front. But instead of watching a rocket, we actually have all the basketball games going on at the same time on the different screens. And the standings, a lot of stuff happening there in terms of discussions and um, anticipation. We do the permutations in there, which is a very intense job from the competitions department. So trying to anticipate what will happen, how much a team needs to win the next game to go to the next round, because obviously we get a lot of questions, but we're not all habilitated to give the answer. And it's very easy to make mistakes. So that's really the central core place where all these things are discussed, and where the official voice of the competition will say what's going on. If there is a problem, if there is a statement to release, anything, it would come from there.
And so if, let's say, did anything go not wrong, but were there any mishaps during like that maybe the eye of the spectator didn't notice, but for you it caused stress, let's say?
Not major things. We were actually fortunate enough to have a smooth event, but obviously there are things that are a little bit out of our control that happened. I mean, in Japan, there was a typhoon coming, so we had to send an alert. People were worried. So that clearly created some problems and some discussions on even like how will the competition be affected if there is really a typhoon. Will the teams be able to come for the final phase? So that was, that's very like random stuff that can happen, that is completely out of our control. But because we do have a crisis plan and people that are just working on those aspects, we kind of knew how to react right away. Then yeah, there were some negatives. I think that there were very moments that were very high in terms of attendance, for example, at the competition, but then also moments where we didn't have, despite the passion of Filipinos for basketball, we didn't really have that much people in the venues. But you can also understand that an event that lasts almost a month, with games even in the afternoon while people work, the price of the tickets was quite high for certain games, for the local population, I mean. So obviously things that, that we learn from and that are going to be adjusted for the next events, because what you want at these events ultimately is full venues all the time, full stop. Like,
of course.
That's the objective. But yeah, other than these things that we are obviously aware of, because then we just finished an entire month of debriefs on every possible aspect. It also means that we know what the recommendations would be for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go from there.
That's pretty exciting. That's a big job. You did a great one. I remember watching your stories after the Lithuania beat US, and I was like, I wish with every part of my body I was just there right now. Oh my God. And you're like, yeah, this is sick. I'm like, this is history for us,
I know, and there were so many, and I think that's actually about my job. I said that it's always very fulfilling to see the happiness of people around me and of the fans, etc. But it's also the teams, like it's also the players. Having been a player myself, obviously never on that world stage, that must be absolutely amazing, but you can kind of understand what these guys are going through in terms of emotion, on the court when the game finishes, etc. And I think that's actually a skill that you need to have, especially in the job we're doing, because sometimes I know that we ask a lot to the players, we're a little bit annoying in terms of, can you give an interview to this person, to that person? And you need to, the entire game is about keeping a balance between respecting the privacy, the emotions, the moment that the player is living in that precise moment, but also making sure that we cover it correctly, that we give the chance to as many people possible, and and that we kind of give them access to the player, because that's what people want.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tricky game, but we're right in the middle, and I think that when you see the happiness of the players on their face, it's always also very, very fulfilling.
I bet. I bet. I remember coming back from Eurobasket, and the one thing I told my husband, I was like, I felt so connected to the people I worked with. Like I felt like it's such a, and I don't know what the, well, it's so random. You just talked about the most players' emotions, so that's what I was like continuing from. I felt like so connected to the people working there, and I said I've never met them before, but like we'd go to dinners after, we'll go there. We spend obviously all day, like morning to night together. And then I feel like, oh, I miss these people. I was like, I miss the energy we had. I miss like all that stuff, But at the same time, I was wondering like what connected us. Obviously, the main purpose of like making the event as best as possible. But at the same time, I think that having that passion for the game and having those emotions around you, it's sort of like it's so easy then to become one group and like connect as people on the court side, at the same time. Like it's just one big thing.
Yeah, and I think it's the power of sports. Like I mean, I don't think we would feel the same way if we went to a convention about selling, I don't know,
Yeah.
you know,
Tiles.
exactly. Like, heck, honestly, you can be very passionate about selling a lot of things, or, doing a lot of things in life. But I think in particular, because of how sports work in today's society, like how big of a role in terms of expressing your emotions, and, the role of athletes today, it's so much more than just being on a court. They represent something. They bring ideas. They kind of give an image to certain people that don't have one. People want to be like them. People want to listen to what they have to say. So it's a part of the world that has a huge impact today. And I think that's because we give a platform to that. We feel that we do have a certain responsibility almost to deliver it in the right way. So I think that's actually very important, and it makes people that work at events connected, because you have one objective, is to deliver this correctly. So it kind of makes you feel like, okay, it's very hard to measure who did what individually, right? It's really a team effort. So I think it makes people feel included a little bit more. There are jobs where obviously that you've wrote a book, and it's signed by you. All the success goes to you. That's like you're the main mind behind it, even if you had other people around you. But in our case, it's very hard to give props just to one person and tell them, oh, it's thanks to you that this event was delivered. No, it's thanks to the top management, to the middle management, to the people that were on site, to the volunteers. We have all our events, we have a huge number of volunteers that they're not paid. They're there because they actually love what they're doing, and they want to be part of it, even if it means sacrificing maybe their real job, their studies, their time.
Yeah.
So obviously you can feel that there is an additional motivation there. It's not just money, or it's really be part of something bigger. And I think that's the real difference there.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm happy that I was a part of that as well. So, what is the next event for you? You have what are you working on now apart from Qatar?
So next year is the Olympic year. So for us, it's always a little bit different, because the Olympics is obviously not our event. It's a multi-sport event. We're just a little part of it. A very important part, though, because I mean, in terms of team sports, we're a very crucial
For sure.
sport discipline. We have.
I would say the main, but who am I?
I'm not gonna say it either, but no, we have basketball. We also have 3x3 basketball at the Olympics. So
That is
um,
so cool.
yeah, so we've started working full speed on preparation of the qualifiers first, the qualifying
Mhm.
tournaments. So we have the women's qualifying tournaments. It's 4 tournaments of 4 teams taking place in February. And then we have also the men's qualifying tournaments that are a little bit later for calendar reasons. They're end of June, if I'm not mistaken, beginning of July. So very late, right before the games. But yeah, those are 4 tournaments of 16, so it's pretty heavy in terms of
Mhm.
preparation. And they're usually spread out across the planet. So it's for us, it's kind of like, you know,
Doesn't make it easier.
no, it doesn't. But it's very exciting tournaments. Obviously, there's a lot of at stake. Um, and we do usually get to see the biggest stars because everybody wants to make it to the Olympics. You know, it's that opportunity, that last opportunity to get a ticket. So yeah, very exciting times. And then obviously the Olympics in end of July. As I said, we're a little bit less implicated because not all departments are working at the Olympics, but us in particular for comms and media ops, we are heavily involved. So we'll be in Paris the entire time.
That is really cool.
Hmm.
You mentioned big stars. So have you? How is it to dealing with them? Are they?
It's quite something, you know. No, I have to say,
I do.
in most cases, we deal with very respectful and nice people that understand the implications of what they're doing, and that it's not just playing on the court, but it's also everything that is around it. And I think that we work also with more and more professionalized teams that actually have someone that is dedicated to helping the players understanding the amount of things that go around basketball and that
Mhm.
actually allow us to have these events, because if we don't have coverage, there's no money to do these events. Like, it's, you know, broadcasting is one of the biggest source of income. So players need to be educated to understand this. It's not always the case, but I think that that's definitely key. And then obviously you have personalities. You know, personalities you can't really change. Some personalities that we love on the court are much harder to handle outside the court. But it's part of the game. We know that that's also why people love them and why people have opinions and talk about it. If everybody was just you know, good schoolboy or good schoolgirl, we wouldn't like it as much as we do when there is something juicy happening. So yeah, it's part of the game. And we have some cases where sometimes cooperation is difficult, but we deal with that. And yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is a part of it. So, since you're pregnant now, how is
Yeah.
Paris looking for you? How's are you how are you planning around it? That's like a big change in life, big change in career. I think I don't know how you like planning to adjust that whole.
Yeah, it is a big change. I am looking forward to it, and honestly, I think we'll just go with the flow. I mean, I should be back to work maybe 1 month or 1 month and a half before the Olympics actually happen. And then it's gonna be a question of, you know, organizing the two things and kind of make them match. I've
Mhm.
already, I think I have a very good support group around me between my boyfriend and my mom, and his family too, that can definitely make sure that this happens, that I can be at the games, and then we can have our baby with us and make things work. So we'll see. Honestly, for now, it's just like imagining how it could be and try to see what our options are. But it's clearly an objective to still be at the Olympics even with a baby, and I think that it's also, we'll be in 2024. There is no nobody can tell me that there is no way to actually juggle between the two things or make it work, or find a way to make it work, because I think that the sacrifice for me would be to completely not do the Olympics. But obviously, the sacrifice as a new mom would be to leave my baby without me for that
Yeah.
long. So in any case, whatever I do, I'm a loser, right? So I'm just trying to find a solution where, and there is a solution to do the two things. I don't believe in people that tell me, oh, but you have to choose. No, you don't. You can choose something different. You can choose your own way, and think outside the box, and try to get out of how people did it in the past, because it's not necessarily the only way. So we'll see. I'm very resourceful, so we'll
I'm
see.
very happy. First of all, I'm happy for you and the baby coming, and then that
Thank
you
you
have a
very
support system, which I think that, yeah, it's amazing. As sometimes with given our lifestyle, it's a bit tough for me. So I know how much that that actually means, and I love your attitude. That's like one of the most important things. I love your attitude about the whole situation, because like you said, if I want to, you know, I don't want to lose on that or on that.
hmm
So
I think
so
it's
let's you'll
it's a
win in both.
lesson. It's a lesson even for my future child. I mean, to know that his mom or her mom just was able to do that. That's, yeah, look, like when you were little, mom did this, like she was part of this. To me, it's important. I
No,
want
it's
my
important.
child to be proud of me and to say, mom was in this, or like my mom this. It's just like something that to me it's really crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your legacy and the way your child will see you and look up to you. That's amazing. Talking about that, I took my 1.5-year-old at that time to Istanbul we lived in south of France. I took him to my basket news. I worked for basket news back then. So I took him with me to the trip, and it's funny. It's funny. I was like the guys, because I work with guys mostly.
Yeah.
So they come with one little luggage, like weekender bag, for a few days in Istanbul. And me, I'm coming with a huge suitcase, with a pram, with a backpack, with a child. I'm like, I have arrived on a work trip. But like there was no other thing that I had to do. And like you said, like first of all, I had to hire a nanny there, which
hmm
I knew because I have a lot of friends in Istanbul from
Yeah.
living there, so like it kind of helped because obviously I knew the person who was like taking care of my child as I was doing the interviews,
Yeah.
but at the same time I was very happy that he could just be with me in the city and experience something new, like it was nice, and it's a story to tell because you know yeah, it's what we have to do, I guess, as women. We have to juggle.
Yeah, and you also, I feel like there are a lot of opinions. I'm actually experiencing it right now. Like everybody has their own opinion about, oh, you should do this. You see, when the baby comes, it will be like this. And then for me, it was like that, which is great. It's great to hear other people's opinions. I love it. I think it's important to, listen and collect all the knowledge you can. But at the end of the day, you make your own decision and you live your own experience. And it will be for sure completely different from other people's. So even listening to people now, or worst case, like people that tell me, oh, you won't be able to do that with a baby, that just motivates me even more to try and do it.
Oh.
Like,
I
first,
bet.
who are you to tell me that I cannot do it? Are you me? Are you living the same life? Are you experiencing, like, no, you don't have the same people around you. You don't know.
These are the same people who say that, who already before, like, I found that, you go to, when you're pregnant, you go to these, like, uh, groups where you learn about the birth,
Okay.
la la, all these things, and or meet other pregnant women,
Yeah.
and then I just could tell right away what kind of perception of motherhood they have. They're like, oh, I have to do this now because after I won't be able to. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like, and that's sort of the mentality, like they go into it, and I'm like, if you already think that now, like, baby's still in your belly, you already think that now, but if you haven't even met the guy or the girl, so, like, how can you already have that feeling about it, the whole situation in your life, what it's going to be and what it's going to look like? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
absolutely. It's a very obviously it's a very educational, it's a big discovery, all this pregnancy, and especially I think not even just in terms of discovering a new side of myself, but also discovering a new side in other people, like close people or just people that I know, but like the reactions, the things they share, you know it's just like it shows different facets of a lot of people. Like there is a little bit of a competition aspect as well, which I find very weird. I was discussing it with my boyfriend yesterday. It's like some people, I feel like they're trying to take this as a competition, and is in like, oh, we got this for the baby, we got that for the baby, I'm like, cool, but like, oh, why didn't you do that? I'm like, because we're us and we're gonna do it this way. It's not written anywhere, there's no manual. So
No,
but
no, and you know what? And I love that attitude, really. I think that's the best way to go about it. It's you're writing your chapter. Like, that's a whole new
yeah.
chapter for both of you and for the three of you eventually. And so I think that it's only you who can tell and figure it out what the baby needs and all those things. Like, oh boy, it's funny because, like, for me, before I had the kids, I thought, oh, I really want the baby room. Like when you see in, like, the perfect house, the perfect picture, we still don't even have a house. Like, I have two children now. We don't have a house. Like, we move like we're basically homeless. Like, you know what I mean? We live, we live like in obviously in a house it's provided by
Yeah.
the team, and then off seasons we either in Lithuania or we're in Australia, so we move,
Mhm.
and we rent. And then, like, I never had a baby room, and I have two kids, so there's some, and then what that made me realize that they don't need that room.
Yeah.
Like, they don't need those things, they don't need that room. Like, all they need is the parents there, and as long as the parents are happy, it's like the baby's happy, and as long as the parents are chill and don't stress about stupid little things, that's all literally all the secret to happiness in my books.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I don't know yet, but I think you're totally right because I see certain things, and I think that even like on social, I'm watching all these videos. Like now, my timeline is just like covered in pregnant women, baby rooms, decoration, all kind of stuff, gadgets, and it's so overwhelming sometimes. They're like, well, do I really need this? Because it feels just very useless. I can do that with my hands, or like, I don't know. And baby room is one. I mean, I am in the baby room right now. It's my office, so that's gonna be it.
50-50, that's awesome.
And we're gonna have to share, and that's what it is.
And
That's
look, until the baby is like 5, or I mean, okay,
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
3, 4, they don't need.
there is this big romantic idea of how it should be, and
Yeah.
then there is the reality of how will you actually go through life with your baby. And yeah, I'm very, very curious.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. How long is maternity leave? Is there maternity leave, and how long is it in Swiss? I mean, obviously you're not probably taking it or all of it, but is
We
it
are
is
not
there?
the most advanced country when it comes to this stuff, unfortunately. We're advanced in a lot of other things, but when it comes to maternity leave, the structure of the family, and that sort of stuff, it's very much done in a way that doesn't encourage women to have kids and kind of stay at home for a little bit. We have 14 weeks, which is really a minimum when you have a job, and that's pretty much it. And then, well, you're paid depending on your job, so your employer can decide that they pay you 100%. Some don't pay at all, and then you get like a state indemnity. So it's a little bit of a not very
That's
clear.
interesting.
It's kind of like you have to understand it while you get into it. I have to say it was a completely new thing for me. I never checked before. So it's kind of it's a little. I was pretty shocked in terms of our country and how we say that we're so advanced, but then for
truly,
it's very basic. And paternity leave is 2 weeks, which is like something that they increased a little bit, like 10 days basically.
But like if you stay in the hospital for 4, let's say 3, 4, I don't know how, but like then you're back at home and then that's it. Well, I have to work.
You're very much left with your own situation and what your job is and how flexible they are and so on. So yeah, it's quite something, but yeah.
Well, you got it, girl. I won't hold you here for any longer.
Drinking decaf since it's been a while, and
Oh, girl, that's one thing I never gave up. I'm guilty as charged. Do not offer me decaf at no points in my life.
I found a very good one, so I'm not mad. It tastes exactly the same. So that's really one of the only ones that I'm sticking to, having my coffee in the morning. But yeah, other than that, gave up a bunch of bad habits.
Well, there's also a good side of the that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I'm sure that, I love talking to you, and I'm sure that people will find, especially young people, will find this educational and interesting and, inspirational more above all.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. It's been a while, so yeah, happy to chat with you.
Yeah, we also got Vasiliki said hi, and that she's excited to listen to this whole thing. So it's nice when I asked for questions. Yeah, so that's awesome. Okay, and so I wanted to thank everyone who asked the questions. I hope we answered them. As you can see, Jal is a pretty impressive woman, and pretty crazy things that she's doing, and like the Paris Olympics, we'll be watching you. And yeah, thank you for watching, and bye.